In this video today, we want to talk about how to create the best in-ear mix possible for you as a vocalist when you're scheduled for any services at our South Shore campus. The first thing to note is what level your pack volume is at. One of the things that we've created as a standard for each vocalist is to not run your pack more than 6 or under 6. So you want to run it right at 6. Before you start navigating your mix and turning faders up or down, you want to make sure that your pack level is right at 6 and stays that way for the entire worship experience that you're scheduled for. Okay? Secondly, one of the things that we want to make sure that you're aware of is what do you need in your ears. A misconception at times is to think that you need everything in your ears, especially if you come from a past experience with singing with floor wedges or monitors. Oftentimes it's an adjustment to think that every instrument and every vocalist I have to have at the same level. The reason that's a misconception is it begins to create what's called a muddy mix, and there's no clarity, there's no definition, and going through a worship experience with that can be very frustrating. So we want to help you out on this video to talk about exactly what you need in your mix. The first thing I want you to note is your pack level, or excuse me, your mic level. So let's just say for a weekend service you are Vox 1. You want your level higher than any other level across the board. So let's just say you start there. The second thing to ask is there anybody that's specifically doubling my part? And so planning center, any rehearsals, you can know ahead of time. Let's just say you're an alto, looking ahead to say, okay, the first thing I need to note, is there any other altos that are singing with me? As a tenor, you would ask yourself the same question. As a soprano, you would ask yourself the same question. And what that does is when you begin to create your mix, you will actually need to put that fader all the way up or equal to yours. And so the reason we want to make that the first thing for you to be aware of is for blending purposes. So if you're singing any harmonies, singing any parts where you need to be together, you're able to hear that vocalist pronouncing the same words the same across the board. Second thing is to note, where's the worship leader? Worship leader needs to be right under you to hear that person, and then the rest of the vocalists. Let's just see, these are the vocalists here. It actually would be a little bit too loud. You'd want to bring them down a little bit. You'll play around with the mix, see what works for you, but about right there would be a good level, so you're able to hear the additional parts, but it's not overriding what you've set with the worship leader and anybody doubling your part. Secondly, on the second half of this board, on the bottom left-hand side, is the instruments. We talked about in the previous video where these are the drums, kick, snare, hat across the board. We've got to the right of bass, acoustic, rhythm, a lead. One of the things that you need to be aware of is where is the click volume. We use a metronome for each song, and so you're going to definitely need to hear the click. You want that up loud enough to stay on tempo, stay on time, especially if the drums cut out at a certain time and we're singing. We want to be on tempo with the metronome. Besides that, it's really preference. Drums, this is a mix that's been created. I would say these drums and instruments are a little bit too hot. You would probably hear a pretty muddy mix. If you note where the bass level is here, where the drums across the board are here. Typically what I would do, I would bring this level down across the board to even out the drums. The bass I would bring about equal as well. And then I would just bring the rest of the instruments and have enough reference for the keys and acoustic. Really, you want to make sure as you're singing throughout each song that you have a good reference of the melody for pitch purposes, for staying together, for a little bit of the rhythm. So typically what we like to do is have enough reference of the acoustic, enough reference of the keys to hear for melody, and then beyond that point it's preference. You'll begin to find out what works for you to create the best in-ear mix possible that you can for each service. So just remember your pack level, stay at level 6. And then as you mix everything on the board, if there are any vocalists doubling my part, where's the worship leader volume, the additional vocals, the click, and then everything else, it's preference beyond that. One last thing to note, if your mix begins to sound muddy, first thing is your level on your pack at 6, and where are the instruments at? Begin to bring them down, and you'll find more clarity in your mix as you go on. So thank you so much for watching this video, and we hope you have an awesome worship experience.